Being focused is something we all struggle with, especially in this TikTok era where our attention spans are almost non-existent. I used to think that something was wrong with me, that maybe I just wasn't the kind of person who could sit still or focus for long. Finishing a book, finishing a task, or even staying locked into a conversation all felt harder than it should be. And it's also one of the reasons that doing this YouTube channel has been difficult. Lack of focus. Luckily, I'm the kind of person that loves to optimize. I started asking myself, what can I do better? What can I change? And after a bunch of self-testing, I finally found a few things that helped me improve my focus. I would define focus as the ability to concentrate on a task for a desired amount of time. Focus isn't a talent. It's not a rare trait that only a few people are born with. I think of it as your mental environment, the results of what you allow and what you remove. It's like a room. If there's clutter everywhere, it's hard to move. It makes you feel disorganized, you trip, you get distracted. But if the room is clear and organized, now you can move easier and there's nothing to draw you away. Our minds work in the same way. Focus is the ability to stay in that room and not get drawn away by any clutter or distraction. And most people don't even realize how much mental clutter they're carrying because it's become so normal. We think we need to do more to become more focused. Install a few apps, set timers, block a few websites, follow a 3-hour-long morning routine and dip our face in bowls of ice. But that's long, and in some ways it just adds to the clutter. The real issue is that we're overstimulated. Our brain is conditioned to chase novelty and fun, and that's what you get on social media apps especially. If I click on Instagram and I see something that boosts my dopamine, my brain immediately wants more. So how can I possibly get back to my task, which now seems like the most boring thing in the world? Consciously, I want to, but my brain, the chemicals, the patterns, they all just want stimulation. We're so used to being overstimulated, we forget what it's like to just sit still. To sit with a single task and not try to run from it. We're training our brains to chase micro rewards all day long, to scroll, tap, swipe, react, reply, and then we expect to just lock in for 2 hours and do deep work. The biggest misconception is that fixing focus is about adding complexity, when realistically, it's about removing clutter. My philosophy is, why work against friction when you can just remove it? It's not about forcing your brain to do something it doesn't want to do. It's about clearing the path and making that thing easier to do. Your brain actually wants to focus, but you've got distractions firing at you from every direction, and we treat it like it's normal. Focused is our natural state, and being distracted is the unnatural one. So here's what actually helped me improve my focus. The first thing is meditation. Not for mindfulness, also that does play a part, but more so for boredom tolerance. Most people struggle with meditation because they wonder if they're doing it correctly. But in this case, that's not the point. It's about sitting still for 10 to 15 minutes and doing nothing. And that's it. It's about training your brain to exist without being in a state of constant stimulation. I personally use that time to think about the person I want to be, the goals I want to achieve, or the task I'm going to complete for the day. Sometimes my mind wanders, but bringing it back is exactly the kind of mental rep that helps with my focus. It's also a good way for me to tell how overstimulated I am. So I remember before, just thinking about sitting there for 15 minutes felt impossible. There's just this resistance because it's boring and I couldn't get it done. But once you push past this for a few days, you'll see some improvements in your ability to focus, and meditation becomes easier to do. Meditating first thing in the morning also sets you up to complete your task. You can think of meditation as the bottom of the entertainment or dopamine scale. So when you start your day with meditation, any task that seems difficult or boring becomes more exciting than just sitting there. And this allows an easier flow into doing your task and focusing on them. Next is single tasking. We love to think that we're multitasking geniuses. Multiple tabs open, phone nearby, jumping between 5 things at once. But your brain isn't handling 5 things, it's switching between them. And every time you switch task, even for a second, there's a cost to switching, as your brain has to get acclimated to new information. And this also disrupts your momentum. The brain is constantly resetting, making each task you multitask take longer. So you're not just losing time, you're also breaking momentum, which keeps you from getting into a flow-like state when focusing on a single task. Now, this is something I'm still not perfect at, but what's helped me is cutting down to one thing at a time. If I'm writing, I'm not checking messages. If I'm editing, I'm not brainstorming the next video. I'm in a single task until it's done or until I need a break. When you protect that single stream of attention, it actually becomes easier to finish the thing. So try doing one thing, start to finish, with no side quests. Another thing that's helped me is energy management. Don't try to focus when you're tired and expect it to be easy. No one's doing deep or meaningful work or 4 hours of sleep. You need to either sleep well or be caffeinated. One or the other. Trying to focus when you're exhausted is an uphill battle. Everything feels harder. Procrastination increases, your brain starts searching for something easier to do, and in most cases that's entertainment, increasing the likelihood of you getting distracted. If you can, prioritize getting good sleep so you wake up feeling energized. But if that's not realistic for you, caffeine is a useful tool. Just be intentional about it and don't get addicted. Also, understanding that doing something first thing in the morning when you're fresh and energized versus doing something after a long day of work are two different scenarios. I know you hear these influencers nowadays saying you should have a 9 to 5, then a 6 to 12. And this sounds good and sometimes definitely needs to be done, but just understand that 6 to 12 is going to be harder to focus, so expect it. And especially if you haven't been having good sleep or you haven't used any energy boosters. And lastly, it's understanding your distractions. The most important step you can take is simply removing your distractions, or at least understanding how it impacts your day so you can work around it. And in this day and age, your biggest distraction is this phone, social media, emails, even silly little updates about things you don't even care about, all pulls you out of your focus and distracts you. Especially apps like Instagram. It's a focus killer. For me, it's the worst. I don't doom scroll anywhere else, but as soon as I open Instagram, I'm distracted. The way I deal with it, I deactivate and uninstall the app. That might be extreme, but it works for me. But you don't have to do that. It's just about understanding that social media apps rank way up on that entertainment scale. So if you start your day by scrolling through your social media, just understand that most things that come after are going to seem incredibly boring, making them even more difficult to do or stick to. So when I know I want to focus on something, I would turn off all notifications that could lead me to social media. If it's a long task where I need to take breaks, I also wouldn't check my social media during these breaks because I know that getting back to the task is going to be incredibly difficult. And this isn't limited to social media. This can be things like television, Netflix, anime, anything that you notice that's distracting you. The final thing I'll say is that your focus isn't gone, it's just buried under noise. You don't need a perfect system, a fancy app, or a rigid schedule. You just need to remove the friction and protect the space that your attention lives in. And don't beat yourself up if you aren't perfect or you didn't do as much as you wanted to in a certain day. The most important thing is trying to get better as the days go by. So even if you only add one thing from this video and it makes a difference, that should be a success.